today I'm gonna invite my mom and dad, Larry and Shelley Merrell. They're here visiting from Arizona, and they're going to join me for the message today. So will you guys help me welcome Mom and Dad Merrell? Getting to share you like with this group of people, this means so much to me because this is, I came from this. I know you can't see it, like very different physiques, and thank the Lord. The Lord's given me just a little more, of just a. Is that on? I don't think so. It's probably. Hopefully you forgot what you were going to say.
I understand you married up, though.
I did marry. I did. Touche. I did marry up. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to have a conversation and ask a few questions, just kind of for these guys, and give some context to who they are and what God's done in their life, and wisdom from this world of marriage and parenting, and really in my brother Landon and I's life. So I have one younger brother, 2 years younger than me, somehow like 2 feet taller than me. I don't know how that works. And him and his wife Katie, and their newest addition to the Merrell family, Murphy, was born a few months ago. 2 months ago, yeah, Murphy Ray Merrell, sweet little Murphy, and so that's all me and my brother. But overarching of this couple right here, a theme of their life, still to this day, would the declaration of, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord, is represented 100% in the two of these incredible people. And they're not perfect, obviously. And they would tell you, and I'm sure there's things even in that they would share, that they're not trying to present themselves as some, like, we did it all right or we got it all. But like you that little, like, thing that what's coming out of their life, like what would be that I don't know another couple that would have that much everyone agrees-ness about, man, the way that they've lived and raised their family and led themselves is they really chose whom they would serve. And as for them in their house, man, they served the Lord. And in 41 years of marriage that they just celebrated in, a week or two ago, 45 or 46 years together. Somehow you guys like found each other when you were like 4 and 5 years old or something like that. 33 years of parenting and grandparenting, Yeah. I love that so. And even in their journey of parenting, there's been not only ups and downs with the two, children that you've got in Landon and I, but your own challenges of infertility, miscarriage, of different things. It hasn't been all perfect in either category yet. Here you are today, and able to be in a place where you're like representing God in a way that is so authentic and it's so real. And for me, for Holly and our kids, and for my brother and Katie and their child and maybe future children, it's just such an amazing honor to get to have been privileged to be a part of the family and raised by such incredible parents who I love and love hanging out with and spending time with. And so I want a little piece of who you are and who God is through you to be imparted into the body today. When did you guys meet? So that these guys know, you don't have to give that whole backstory, but just 41 years of marriage, but you always make sure you tag that little piece on, because it is meaningful and it's insane when it comes to how it really all started. But you guys met, how old were you? You have to hold that by your mouth.
I was about 11 years old, and one of my best friends had a crush on Larry. And so I just went along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really secretly had a crush on Larry, but I just let her kind of lead the way. And so we met at church in the youth group. We'd go on outings and activities and Disneyland, what have you. And these two friends actually had a crush on Larry. And so they would fight over who was going to sit next to them.
You're blowing his head up so big right now.
They would fight over who was going to sit next to him on all the rides at Disneyland.
You have to hold that. Okay. right close to your mouth so
And
that
when
way
we
they can
got,
bring the volume
by
down.
the time we got to the haunted house, Larry just grabbed my arm. He's like, come sit by me. I'm tired of these girls bugging me. Okay.
Your plan worked the whole time.
Yeah. So I waited. That lasted like a couple of years. I officially started liking him when I was 13. So, but then my parents had this rule: no dating until you're 16. And he was 2 years older than me, and so we only got to see each other at church, youth activities. And back then it was, you don't call boys, they can call you. So then our plan was he would call me, or I would call him, hang up. So he had that clue to call me. So it kind of worked around that a little bit. But back then, cell phones, no social media. We didn't even have telephone or recorders or something like that.
Stone Ages. What are we doing?
So anyway, so by the time I was 16, he officially asked my dad if he could take me out. And we were together pretty much.
Yeah. So would you wouldn't correct any of that? You would probably receive all of that as the way it happened?
Mm.
Yeah, I would.
Make sure your switch is up. Okay.
Yep, I would. Very much so. I just fell in love with her early, realized what a soft-spoken, didn't want to be out there. The other two girls she acknowledged were
Bring it a little closer.
Were very outspoken, and it just didn't hit me right. And so Shelley really just fit the bill. I mean, I was falling in love with her as we grew up, really together. Very young, obviously. You guys hear that, but we were together 5 years, and
Got married at 18 and 20.
I had just turned 20, and Shelley was 18, and just graduated from high school, and we were young, but had God in our life, and really, really knew that we were for each other. I mean, we just knew it. So, and there was no need to wait. We were just kind of ready at that time.
Yeah.
So, not that I recommend that for everyone.
No.
And yeah, 41 years later. So, here we are.
Pretty awesome. Pretty incredible. One of the things that I know that stands out about the two of you in the marriage space is the way that you guys over the years have really just pursued friendship and created opportunities for togetherness, whether it was we're going to step out in faith and do this thing and make a decision that's going to be maybe a little bit unknown, or there just was a lot of the value of that togetherness. Like, you didn't make a lot of decisions separate, at least when I was alive. And one of the things when you think about the 41 years of being married and you think about where you guys are now, will you speak to how marriage is for you right now, and like just a glimpse into it? Like, what in this season of life, your kids are out of the house and you're still working and different things, but like what's something in this season that you're just like, man, being able to be here, there's something we're experiencing that we know has only come from these 41 years of being together that maybe was different in the early years that you didn't get to experience?
I would say, honestly, through the years, like Chase said, I mean, we have our faults, like everyone. We've had challenges. We've had physical challenges. Shelley getting pregnant. We've had emotional, gone through a lot of ups and downs. We all do. This is what this world is about, right? How do we respond to challenges? And through it all, we've honestly always done our best to keep God in the forefront. Always asking for wisdom and understanding. That's been probably our signature of prayer, is wisdom and understanding. Lord, we need that more than anything else. And He's directed us through, I believe, those prayers. And in doing that, I could be difficult to love at times, vice versa. We all have that human nature in us, but we really been able to say, look, how does this affect us as a family going forward, and try to make those decisions with that in mind. How is it going to affect us? And raising kids, boy, it's a day-to-day. It's a grind, you know. We all know that. It can be a grind. And we only had 2, and I see you guys with 4, and I'm like, I don't know how you guys, honestly, I was like, Lord, please give them lots of grace. And Chase has obviously a lot of my likes and dislikes. I mean, you name it. We love football, hunting, fishing, outdoors, Chick-fil-A, you know. Yeah, right.
He did it. That wasn't even...
In and out, whatever, you know, there's a lot of things we really do like that we're very similar on.
Yeah.
But that said, there's a degree of what we tried to implement into both Chase and Landon of seeking a mate and things to look for, and absolutely Holly's that, you know, you scored,
Totally.
you did well, and so did Landon. Beautiful ladies that just love God, and you can't ask for anything more than that. And Shelley is that. She loves Jesus, so beyond what you guys can imagine, she's diligent in serving the Lord. So
Yeah.
those are focus points that if you don't have those, it's even harder to go through raising a family and life in general. So having, you know, Christ and a good woman by your side as men is huge, absolutely huge. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. There's people in the room that are married in a tough season of marriage, maybe young to 15-ish years, you know, which is not young marriage, but like, yeah, at 41, it's young in that way. And there's people here that have been married more than 41, which is incredible. Yeah. Part of what I recognize in having the relationship that we have is that you guys aren't just glorified roommates now that Landon and I have grown and are out of the house and doing our own life and family, but you continue to find great joy and purpose in your relationship in the Lord and together still. There's a lot of people that might be here or have had seasons of their marriage where they're wondering, like, is this worth it? Like, is what we're up against, or the grind of this conflict that just seems to never go away or get better, or something that continues to be just so difficult? The question of, is this worth it? Like, is this worth continuing to fight for? Because of it just seems discouraging, or it seems like what would you speak to that? To somebody, you know, that might be feeling like that or in that season, you know, because the truth is all of us have had moments like that, and I know you have had moments like that. So how would you encourage somebody that's kind of just in that space in their marriage, or this, like, man, is this ever going to get better, or is this worth it?
I would say no matter where you're at, 5 years married, 10 years married, 15 married, 15 or whatever, it's worth it. You have to put in the fight and the work, and know that whatever you're going through at that time, you got to see past it. And then when you get past it, you look back and go, I'm so glad I didn't give up. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's so good.
Very good. And to add to that, we have found, Shelley's been so good, you guys. I can't even give enough credit to Shelley, because she honestly is a very humble.
Bring it a little closer.
A very humble, not self-serving person. If you know anyone like that, they're few and far between. And she gives herself constantly. And I catch myself going, oh, don't take advantage of that, you know. But she's strong and will tell me when I'm out of place, very much so. But I would say
I'm glad you don't do that to me.
But we have found things that, I've enjoyed a lot of activity in my life, outdoors, anything to do with movement, period. I mean, I like that. And Shelley's given me the grace, the time to go hunting, go here, go there, be on 3 softball teams at once and play racquetball and, scuba dive. And I mean, she's just given me all the grace, But we've just somehow put that through our kids. You guys are very active as well. And now we're at a place where we've found pickleball, we love to go out, and just enjoy being outside. We'll sit out in the morning, have coffee, virtually almost any chance we can. We live in southern Arizona, so it's easier there than it is here. We did live here for a couple stints.
Yeah, and you just decided to move right before we launched the church.
Yeah,
right before,
yeah.
Before we became pastors, but that's okay,
But I would say, though, it's such a blessing to be at this point and see God's goodness and see his faithfulness. And even all the years we prayed for Chase and Lennon to marry women that love the Lord. And then now they're pouring into our grandkids to raise them in the love of the Lord. Couldn't ask for anything more. And so to see the goodness of God at this stage.
Yeah.
Better than anything else. It is truly to have that, knowing your kids are serving God and your grandkids are being raised by those kids that love God. It's just, you can't ask for anything else.
Yeah.
Really can't.
And if you're in a time and place where maybe that isn't the exact story, don't give up. Just keep praying. And, it's not up to you. It's up to the Lord and his timing.
Yeah.
And he will put people in your kids' lives. And you just have to rest in that hope that he gives us, that it may not look like you want it to look right now, but I really believe he hears your prayers and he knows the desires of your heart for your kids and your grandkids.
Yeah.
I'd like to add something too. So, Philippians, and Chase is the pastor. He knows scriptures. I just know it's in Philippians, but lean not on your own understanding, right? And let the peace of God rule your heart. Mm-hmm. So those are two things that I'm a very common sense approach person. I do lean on my own understanding a lot, but he tells us not to. And that has saved my bacon so many times. So when you decide you're going to lean on yourself and not take God for his word, and because it's difficult, right, to have that faith, it doesn't usually work out. So don't lean on your understanding and let the peace of God rule your heart. Amen. Those are key in allowing you to move forward in decisions, big decisions, small decisions. As far as you were such a gift to Shelley and I, and I don't know if Chase has ever shared the story of infertility, but
7 years.
I won't go too deep, but yeah, it was 7 years, and Chase was that. He was our firstborn after 7 years of trying, literally, and it was a God thing. I mean,
God's
God
timing.
was working in my heart because I wanted my own flesh and blood, and I finally one night had gotten to the place, and Shelley had been trying to say, let's do international adoption, and I was like, we got time, we're young, and I kind of fought it, and I finally one night, middle of the night, I just rolled over and I said, hey, go ahead and start that international adoption paperwork. I'm ready. What was it? That
same month
later,
I found out I was pregnant.
Yeah, we found out. Praise God, right? Yeah. So we found out we're pregnant. Can't believe this, and it's Chase. And so along with that, we go. I don't know. He's 3 years old, and we've raised him in church and all that, and things about the Lord. Shelley and I are called, like the Scripture tells us, to go and share the gospel. We know that. That's a calling in our life, to love others, love God. Mm-hmm. But at like 3 years old, this little guy was out cruising the neighborhood, finding little friends to come back.
We lived in these apartments.
Bring him these kids to our apartment. We were living at family housing on a college at the time. I was doing 2 jobs. And we'd have 2 or 3 little kids in our living room watching the New Testament cartoon videos, right?
Yeah.
Right? Videos, VCR videos. He's plugging, and they're all
Come on, you
standing
gotta
there
see
watching
this.
this. I'm like, this kid has a calling on his life, you know? So literally, that's the difference. I mean, we have the calling to love God and love others and preach the gospel, but early on, Chase had a calling, and that we knew. We recognized it, and we thought, there's no getting around that.
No.
And so, obviously, we encouraged him to stay with.
What his passion was.
Yes. So.
I hadn't even had a chance to be homeschooled yet, and I was doing stuff like that. The two, when I think about parenting and I think about our relationship and where we're at with whether people are in the room as young parents or they have adult kids and they're navigating those relationships. What I'm going to do, there's some great questions here that I want to give us some opportunity for some time for you guys to be able to respond to. But there's definitely a thread and a theme from a lot of them around like how you guys cultivated an environment while we were young to raise us in a place in a way where it was, well, I'll read the question in a second specifically, but both while we were young, the environments that you cultivated, and then now the environment you continue to cultivate to create a healthy relationship dynamic between the two of you and your adult kids and grandkids and so forth. Again, I don't feel biased, or I know that I am biased, but I don't feel that my opinion on this is biased, and that's because I have heard a lot of other opinions that would support what I've observed, and that is it feels so uncommon to have the kind of desire that myself and my wife, your daughter-in-law, which there's all these different dynamics in that world when it comes to father and or son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws and all those. It doesn't always look like, man, we can't wait to spend time with you and be together. And a lot of that is how you have cultivated the environments later after we've moved out of the house and environment. So there's a lot of people that I know are going, what do we do now? Or if it feels too late, you mentioned that just a moment, it's not too late, because maybe they're not experiencing that with their children now and they desire it and long for it. So I'm going to go through some questions kind of in that vein. And if you I'll have these guys put the QR code up one more time, or maybe it'll just be up on the side. And once you put up the main one, do I need to push something from here, or can you do it from there in order to show the questions? So here's some questions. You guys ready? Is that cool? And what people are going to be able to do from the site here is they're going to be able to vote up the questions that they think are, I don't know, more valuable to be asked. And I'm also going to ask that I have some additional help for moderating from the computer in the back because I'm not able to read them all at the same time. And if there's something up there that's just wacko, just get that out of there so that I don't have the ability to see it all. And this is I'm not a professional in this world yet. Great question. Brought in first and foremost by this random dude named Josh. What are some practical ways that you believe contributed to your kids continuing to love and serve the Lord in their later years? And then part B of that is, why is Landon your favorite? So what are some real practical ways that you believe contributed to your kids continuing to love and serve the Lord in their later years?
I would say example is a big part, right? I mean, if it's in you, it's coming out. There's no getting around that. It's in you, it's coming out. And we love the Lord, even though we fail many times and we struggle and fight. But our example would be just that. When we get to a place where hey, we need to ask each other for forgiveness. And we would always lean in on you guys as little kids, and even as you grew, to always focus on others. And trying to be loving, and what would Jesus do, right? I mean, it's a clichéic phrase, but we try to lead in that example. You probably all heard this, it's like, preach with all your might, and if you have to, speak. So it's really through your example that you're preaching. And as kids growing up, we took opportunities when we saw them. We just didn't let them pass. I think we tried our best to take the opportunities to teach and lean you into the things of the Lord, in that process as we went older.
Yeah.
Or got older, when you guys got older. But, and obviously siblings, there's a great opportunity to
I don't know what you're talking about.
to find those examples. So
sanctification, grace,
Yes,
patience,
yes.
all that. Yeah, for sure.
So good stuff. But
Yeah.
you want to add to that?
I just think always just having your home comfortable in the sense that your kids feel like they could come anytime, no matter what, and just be real with them. Even, our other son, Landon, waited on God for a long time for a wife, 10 years. And, 10 years different from Chase getting married, 10 years apart, married. And walking that journey with him, discouragement, like, how come I can't find a wife? Or, then COVID, then you're not going to meet a wife because no one's open. But it was some really discouraging times for him. And as parents, we kind of felt the weight of that. And we didn't have the answers. But being a safe place, make your home a safe place that no matter what, your kids can just come home, look in the pantry, take home a box of food, bag of food, or whatever. But being available, I would say the biggest key is being available. And in this day and age with all of our cell phones and things like that, I, as the mom, could text either one of my sons, hear back maybe in a couple of days. And then I always tell Larry, next time you text, I'm not going to respond. I'm just going to take my time. And I'm just going to let him feel like what it feels like for me. I can't do it. As soon as he calls or texts, I'm right on it. Mom, do you have this picture from I don't know, year 2000? And can you find that picture because I want to use it as an example or whatever.
She'll drop everything to find that picture.
To find that picture, So I would say that just be available always. I don't care if it's 10 o'clock at night. If they need a quick ticket home, if their kids live out of state and you just sense that, I'm going to pay for him a ticket to come home for a few days. He just needs mom, or dad. But just that, I just remember a time in high school, if you have any high schoolers, one of our last vacations as a family, we on purpose chose areas that did not get cell phone reception. And we would get to that spot, and the first thing the guys or the kids would run in and do is, look for the TV, get the Wi-Fi code, all these things. And the looks on their faces, and then one of the units we got into, there's no TV, no cell phone reception. Everything in town closed at 6 o'clock in the evening, and we were loving it. It was like we had their full attention. And the first few days were rough between him and his brother. Because of that, they didn't know what to do. And so if you have to do that, well, I'm sorry. You're not in control of the cell phone reception in that town or whatever. But you just have to be purposeful and intentional and guard your family, guard your time. If you see your kids kind of getting overextended or just sometimes you have to be the bad guy and step in and go, no, you're overcommitted or you need to pull back. It's all good stuff, but we want to see you tonight. Or we have friends in town that want to see you. Just, but for young adults, I think for us, try to just let them navigate. And if they ask questions, ask for help, then you give the advice, but don't try to monitor their every move or micromanage or, give your input if they ask. Otherwise, pray. Just pray and ask the Lord to be the one that speaks into their life. Yeah.
I might say, too, also now, right, you guys are both married, children, and we're states away from you guys, but obviously technology has done so much with FaceTime and all that other stuff. We take advantage of all that we can, but we just love being back together in the same room. It's fun. It's just a cherished time, and we do the best that we can to make the most of it. And it's just. I mean, if we could, we'd do it way more than we are financially able and everything else. But it's just a joy, and we look for things to find commonality in that space wherever, when we do join up. But it's really just being around each other, and I mean, that's the joy that we get from it.
Yeah.
And we think the same is obviously reciprocated by you guys. It seems so. And so, but the grandkids, I mean, we just love on them. It's just such an opportunity to be able to have that time.
And that's part of worth also sticking it out with each other. The gift you give back to your grandkids, for them to see a papa and a grandma that love each other,
It's huge. I'll ask 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap up. And I want to affirm what you said, both of you, but that sense of you didn't punt on your discipleship responsibility of your kids in a way that was, you were very committed to finding environments for my brother and I to be in that were thriving and healthy in the Lord, whether church, but it wasn't always the case either. We had we lived in some small towns, and so there wasn't a ton of options. But you always were committed to finding the best of what was available in being led by the Lord to bring us along and get us involved. And that was, I think, really important. But so much discipleship happened in the home. And it wasn't always just the capitalizing on moments to teach, because you did do that really, really well, sometimes too well. But you also created a lot of space for us to just be who we are and ask and talk. I mean, a lot of environments where distractions were eliminated. A good example, being in a hot tub. A hot tub has been a part of our lives for a long time because of just physical things for you. We had that a lot growing up in different places, even if it was like a sketchy one that we had to put together or whatever. Like you found a way. And when you're in a hot tub, like you don't, for the most part, like you don't have a phone. And so we got an undistracted dad for a long amount of time together in a hot tub, getting to talk, getting to listen. We had so many moments of an undistracted mom asking us questions, being available. And I would just encourage parents in the room, whether you have young to adult kids, because obviously, phones are more a part of your lives now, fantasy football, social media, et cetera. I get more memes sent to me from you guys, and it feels like, anybody else. Instagram videos that I'm like, I got a list of 40 videos that I'm not probably ever going to watch, but, you've sent them to me, so.
They're good ones. You need to take the time.
If I get another Tucker Carlson, Fox News or whatever else, I've got a stack of things to get through.
Or an elk muddling around in the mud.
Yeah, an elk bugling, which that does speak to my heart and soul. And then my mom stuff, it's never like funny but it's like meaningful. It's like, it's like some little video of like how a son texts their mom back after this. I don't know, you probably just you probably helped a lot of people feel like they understand me more and feel less like it's personal when I don't text them back. And you also probably made a lot of people mad that I'm even capable of doing that to them and my mom. So, you created, you still create space for that undistracted time. And I think if there's something I would encourage everybody in here in any season of parenting, that I feel like that I'm not having to fight for the time when I'm with you because you've got something else more pressing, whether it's work, whether it's something more entertaining to you. And I think we all have a challenge in that some capacity, whether it's a phone or TV or stresses of whatever. But because of what can happen in that space, that is impartation of who you are, who God is in you, that can happen so much more, I believe, effectively and organically than just the teaching moments, which are also there. But it just was massive, I think, to those environments, being a part of that. So thank you for not punting on your responsibilities to love and lead us authentically to the Lord in that way. And okay, we're right there. Two more questions. If somebody is in a moment right now where they've recognized they haven't done that, or they're not doing that, but they see an example of a couple in that space, or they're listening to it and they're going like, I want to. How would you encourage somebody that's like not there right now, but they're starting to become aware of where they want to go and how they want to maybe shift some things, but they don't even know what like to do, or is it even possible to shift and repair something or start now, or is it too late? Like when you think about just something that would come to your mind to give somebody some tip or wisdom around like what if that's not them now, what could they do to step into that right now?
Obviously, never give up, and usually it's either a child of yours, a spouse, a parent, a son, a daughter. That's the space that the rubs happen, and there is a yearning. God put it in our DNA as family. It's no mistake that we're in the family we're in. And so if there is that distance between a teenager and a father, or a teenager, a daughter and a mother, there is a yearning inside. They may not say it or speak it or show it. There is a yearning to be together and that relationship to be bonded back together. Number one, prayer. Drop to your knees, humble yourself, ask God for direction, wisdom, understanding, all those, mercy. I mean, just, Lord, work on my heart. But to get that relationship back to where it should be, it can take years. I know people. I mean, it's been years and they're still not committed to the resolve, or one is and one isn't, right? It's difficult. Just don't give up. Even if it's to the end, this is a marathon. This life we live is a marathon. We want things right away. We all do. That's what society has provided. It's instant. But a lot of times, the work put in, it shows the love that you have. And so just don't give up in that. Continue to pursue them.
And I would even say anybody here that has something happening with your parents, God can still restore that. What the enemy has stolen from you, time from you, but God hears your prayers, and He cares about anything that is concerning you, and we have that hope. We can know that He hears us, and you just have to rest in that. And Marion would always say, give it to the Lord and go to sleep, And it's so true. I have remembered that so many times, Marion. Just give it to God and go to sleep. So
good. How did you navigate the unavoidable exposure of boys to worldly influences, especially during their teen years? And if you want to, it's at the top, if you want to read it, just for your own visual.
Engagement was a big part of our lives. We were very engaged in team sports, in
video games for Dad.
Yeah.
They didn't want to share the controller with his son's friends.
You have to embrace things sometimes. So, is it Call of Duty or something, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
don't act like you don't know what it's called. Yeah. This guy.
The friend would come and go, Mrs. Merrell, Mr. Merrell's not sharing.
Hey, I bought it. Right?
Yeah.
All your friends rotate. I keep.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, even video games. I mean, we'd stay up late at night, and I have to work the next morning, and they had school, But I mean, we played late into the night and just laughing and having a good time, and really just engagement.
Yeah.
Every opportunity we had to teach, and just life was in front of us, and it's like we just didn't want to miss the opportunity to be with you guys. Yeah. And yeah, there's so much temptation, you guys out there, obviously we all know. But as young men, I think just it's like having God help you direct. And if you're not in the right place, it's hard to bring someone along with you. So you gotta maintain your relationship with Christ, and in that you can help guide your children. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was just that. It's like showing you what's available that's good and right and pure and fun, and without having to go into other spaces where you're ashamed. And then just being open in communication with that. I think was just key. We talked about a lot of stuff in the spa.
We did.
And there's some deep subjects. And don't be afraid to go there as parents. I mean, that's our job. And we did. We spoke truth to them. And even in odd, awkward, whatever, we pushed through that. And we allowed the questions. So.
And I would say, but we felt safe to come into those moments of vulnerability when we struggled or we were facing a temptation or whatever in front of us, because of how much you had deposited in moments where there wasn't an issue yet. So you wouldn't just come to us and let's have this talk, or let's do it when there was always an issue. You made the space to be available to just talk and just be, and let us when it was good. And so I think that's even what some parents need to hear in the room is if all your what's the question? The worldly, all of the connection time with your kids is around the correction and the protection stuff, and they don't have that just in between. We have fun. Then there'll be less for them to draw from in that bank of deposit that you put in when time does come to go Dad, I'm struggling with this, or I don't know what to do with this, or And I just think that was so huge. You took advantage of those moments when they needed to be. But you also he earned my trust over time, because you also didn't always just come to me when that was whatever it was. Yeah. Last thing here, and then I'll invite, I'm not sure who I'm going to have, but Kyle. I'm going to have Kyle come up I'll have you guys, there's some great questions. We're not able to get to all of them. Appreciate everybody sending something. If you sent something, but I'd love for you guys to pray over us and the church, and pray over these marriages and these homes that are on journeys to lead their families to the Lord, and let the Lord lead their families. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. But this question around, it says this, what if anything did you do to foster an environment that your kids were able to find their calling or what they wanted to do with their lives? That's the question. Just how did you create a world where that I want to acknowledge from the previous question that segues into this one. You both were also extremely pro getting the right people around us. And you didn't leave that up to us. It wasn't do you like this thing? And then there's your coach. Okay, well, hopefully the coach will be a good guy, or hopefully the pastors will just be, it was you were involved in that process of recognizing you weren't going to be able to be the only voices that would healthily influence us and lead us. And so you were active in that pursuit of men of God, that would be able to be a youth pastor or a friend of yours that you've grown up with that we could go hunting or fishing with, or, and I think, and you weren't threatened by it. You were confident and secure and going like, man, Chase is talking a lot about Pastor Kyle and all this great stuff that God's doing in his life, and, fun he's having. He's going for another night. He's going out for a youth group thing, and man, we miss him. And, and although there were times, like you said, you stepped in and said, hey, we want to see you a little bit more, and I think that's perfectly okay. You weren't threatened by the other men in my life that would be able to help shape me and influence me for the Lord. And I think that also was a part of the answer to the question you asked about how do you navigate those unavoidable exposures. They also helped make sure there were people around us who were going to be positive influences in that way. And in our callings, that there were going to be other people that they knew they couldn't be the main voice that was going to be like, we want you to be, we want you to do this, and, we want you to do that with your life. And they knew there had to be other voices. But to that question, what would you say to the family here, or the kids that are still in the house with a mom and dad, or just the dad or just the mom, trying to navigate the environment they're fostering for their kids to find the calling and what they want to do with their lives when it comes to their futures?
I would say just allow your kids to dream. And if they have something they want to try, get behind them 100%. And don't think, in the back of my mind, this is the wrong route. Because sometimes it's just short little seasons of what that pursuit is. But it's how you allow them to pursue that and get behind them. For example, Chase wanted to try out for American Idol. And I mean, that took a lot. That took a lot because you had to go to San Francisco area, get in line like at 4 a.m. But I could have handled it different. I could have said, no, I can't take off work for that. It's too long, it's too much time. Chase, the odds of you making it, if I would have done all those steps, I don't know what that would have done. That could have crushed him. That could have changed his belief in me believing in him, So, and plus I got precious time with my son, standing in line for 4 hours, 6 hours, just to get a ticket, just to get a ticket to go inside for him to try out. And then we find out, oh no, today's not the audition. That's just to get the ticket to come back in a couple weeks to get back in line to audition, But
you also didn't tell me I was the best singer in the world.
No, I didn't.
But
no.
But to see the balance she's talking about,
yeah,
she didn't crush it.
No.
But she also didn't fan something that was a facade either.
Yeah.
But she just
supported
me pursuing.
But if he saw something, Larry and I both would get behind him. He saw this guy come to town from Australia, and this guy's promoting. He's going to go around the perimeter of Australia and minister to the Aborigines people, what have you. Chase's like, I want to do that. And we're like, what? You just graduated from high school or what have you, and but it's going to be $5,000, $6,000, and in my mind, we don't have $5,000, $6,000, but I can get behind you and help raise the $5,000, $6,000 if this is what you really feel like the Lord's calling you to do. So in those moments, just believe in your kids and get behind them. Our son Landon, same. He loved to film and loved Marvel and cartoons, and we didn't know where that was going to go. We're like, this is not getting you any further in life. And then now he's an editor. And we wouldn't have known had we totally put a kibosh on his dreams. He might be doing an 8-to-5 job he hates. But because we allowed him to dream, doesn't always work out. But
yeah, we've always believed in them. In their desires and dreams. We've tried to keep reality out there, but we've never squashed. And I think that has really been a big part of your lives. And because you are both where you're at, you guys have done things that I wouldn't have done. And that was a big test for me too, because it came natural for Chase and I to like the same things. It was a God thing, whatever that was.
Bring my real close.
But the desire for certain things, it was just like, it was instant for Chase to go, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. And where Landon, I introduced him to hunting or long hours out on a boat, just didn't want any part of it. Zero, right? And I'm like, wow, how do I connect with Landon? And he did. He had a whole different take. I mean, he loved storytelling and books and movies. And so I had to figure out that space in my heart as a dad. How do I connect with him in where he's at and what he likes?
Yeah.
And it was difficult. I'll be honest. It's difficult for me because that wasn't who I was. But I did everything I could to try to make that happen. And it was early on that those things started to separate between the two. Chase like this and Landon like that. And so you'll see that as raising your kids. And even to this day, I'm so glad that we did that with both kids. And to see God work through both their lives, it's just such a crown, so to speak, getting to see their lives now. Such a reward. And that's a blessing from God, total blessing from God. So just try to work at finding things that you can connect with and move with it and learn along with them. So, yeah.
If I could say one more thing, too, it's just remembering that constantly directing your kids back to the Lord and God's Word, because we are not the ultimate authority. We fail. We don't have all the answers, but if we could just direct them back to Jesus, that's who they need to rely on. That's what they need for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will not be here, obviously, we're hitting 60s, and there's a time in their lives and their kids' lives that they will need to lean on God when we're not here. And that's a part of what we wanted to guide and direct them towards, is God being their answer and their connection. God facilitated us as their parents for a short time, and it's been a blessing. So,
yeah. Will you just help me? You guys are gonna have you guys pray. Have you pray?
Okay.
That's okay. And just to say the gratitude I have in my heart for
Thank you for
how the Lord has used you as my parents, but like I see Jesus more clearly, and I love him more deeply because of having you as my mom and dad. And so the flow, as you've talked about and alluded to, like you've allowed Jesus to flow. You've given me a great picture of who the Father is, how he sees me, how he pursues me, how he longs for that connection and that relationship. And I just think what the greatest privilege we have as parents and then people to be the ambassadors of Christ like that. But you guys have been that for me in such an incredible way. So I love you. I honor you. Grateful for you. Will you pray for us?
Lord Jesus, I just pray for everyone in this room. Lord, let them always know that you see them specifically. You see their kids. You see the desires for their kids and their grandkids and their parents, if there's some relationships with adults in here that need to restore things with their parents. Lord, you see each and every one, and let them know that you have not given up on them.
Yeah.
And they can call in the name of Jesus and know that you hear them. I really believe that. And Lord, just let everyone know that no matter what happened up to this day, you can take what the enemy has tried to steal from them and you can restore those relationships.
That's right.
And Lord, let us never let our guard down in praying for our kids and our grandkids.
we are where we're at because we had a praying grandmother praying for us and praying for who I would someday marry. And so, Lord, be with these parents, encourage them to never give up praying for their kids and their grandkids. And then whenever things look great, things are just going smoothly, it's not a time just to kind of hang out. It's a time to pray even harder for your family. And let them start young. Start praying for their grandkids before they even arrive. Start praying for their salvation, that their hearts would stay tender towards you and seek the things of you, Lord. And we pray for a shield around our kids, all those outside forces that want to just distract them, Lord. And we just thank you so much. And we love you, and we thank you for forgiveness.